All right. So I'm just trying to, and we're actually going to begin with an analogy. We're going to talk about snorkeling and scuba diving. Perhaps, if my computer will cooperate. Here it goes. All right. So I don't know if you've ever done either of these things, snorkeling or scuba diving, but when you're snorkeling, as you can see here in the picture, you have the tube that goes from your mouth, and it just goes maybe a few inches above your head and sticks up above the water so that you can breathe. This means that you need to essentially swim on the surface of the water, and so you can see what's in the water, but you're looking down through the water at what's far below you on the bottom. Scuba diving, on the other hand, because you carry your tank of air with you, you can go far below the surface of the water, way below the surface of the water, actually. And this allows you to get up close to what's on the bottom. You can see it much more clearly. You can perhaps even touch it. Now, what does this have to do with writing? Well, snorkeling, or giving what I would call snorkel details, is kind of you're writing, you're giving surface information. Readers can kind of tell what you mean, but it's blurry to them. You haven't sharply made your point. You haven't created a vivid picture for them. You haven't convinced them with anything strong and concrete. And involve going deeper to give specifics. And when you get deeper, much like you can see in the picture in the corner here, right? The scuba diver is seeing that little creature. Do you notice it down there in the bottom right-hand corner? You can even see that creature from up far above. When you're giving scuba details, readers know exactly what you mean. They see everything. It's all very perfectly clear to them. I'll give you some examples when we get into creating our organizers about snorkeling details versus scuba details, because if you don't have enough scuba, very specific details, you're going to need to go back and finish your research before you're ready to go forward and organize for writing your essay. All right, so you've written a thesis. You should have done that a few tasks ago. You've decided what it is you want to prove in your essay. And you've gathered plenty of scuba research, you've decided at this point. And so now you're ready to just start drafting, right? You know my answer to that is not yet. You know I expect you to plan out your writing first. You need to lay out all of your information in some sort of graphic organizer in order to show what your ideas are and how they connect to each other and which research information connects to which ideas and in what way. So let's talk about creating a graphic organizer. There's a lot of different kinds of graphic organizers. You could make outlines. A lot of you I know prefer to make what you refer to as webs. Either one of these is easily done on paper and pencil, but they also can be done on the computer. You could use a program like Pages and the Shapes function and text boxes and that kind of thing. But you can also use this really cool website for free called Bubbles. And there's a link to it in Moodle. I'm going to go ahead and click on over there and show you a little bit about using this website. Apparently we're looking at my email inbox here while we're waiting with the spinning wheel of death for Bubbles to load. This website has an option for you to make up to 3 different graphic organizers for free. So it's an account you might hang on to and use throughout the coming years as you're planning out various bits of writing and whatnot. You'll make one for this essay and you might make one for a future essay, but you can always delete ones that are old. And so I've had my, it only allows you to make 3 webs at a time for free, but I've had my free account for years and I've always been able to find space that I need to use it. I'm a little worried here that Shockwave is going to crash on me in Chrome because this website does not appear to be loading very well. So we're kind of stalling a little bit. This is just like class, isn't it? Okay, here we go. You might check out this Learn How to Use Bubbles link. It's not a tutorial. It just takes you to another page that is writing, and it shows you how to go about using and creating and getting started and saving, and it's just some written information that's pretty quick that you can read here. If once you've checked that out, you go ahead and close this tab back out. Now you're going to need to create an account. You're going to click right down here, see create an account. You're going to click this open. You need to come up with a username for yourself in this box, and you need to come up with a password that you then retype. You absolutely do not need to give your name to this website for any reason, and you actually do not need to give them an email either. The only reason they use the email is if you lose your password. You have to provide an email in order to attain it again. But it doesn't matter if you don't give them an email. You do need to check this box that says I've read and accept the terms of service, and then you would click on create account. Now I'm not going to do any of that. I'm going to close this back up because I already have an account, of course, and this is what you would do in the future when you come in, is you would just put your username up here and your password here, and you would probably not have this box checked if you're on a school computer, and you go ahead and sign in. And you can see over here that I have I'm using 2 out of my 3 mind maps right now, 2 out of my 3 free ones. I also have a third one here. This is one that was shared to me by a student. That's one way that you could submit your graphic organizer to me to review, is you could share it to me. Another option you're going to see is you could save it export it as a JPEG file and save it and print it or send it to me that way. But in order to get started, when you won't have anything in this box over here, you'll just be ready to go. You can either click Start Brainstorming, or you can click up here where it says New Mind Map, and away we go. It's going to give you a bubble to start with. It's going to say Start here. Now we're going to take a minute and look at a few of these commands. You get these commands when you mouse over a bubble and you haven't clicked into the text box, okay? One of the things you can do, you can move this bubble. You can just grab it right here and you can drag it around wherever you want it on the screen. Another thing you can do is this box that says color. If I stay in the lower right-hand corner of that box, I can change the color of the actual bubble. If I go in the upper left-hand corner, I can change the color of the text. I can also change the size of the text to larger or smaller. I can connect my bubbles to another bubble. I can attach a file or a web link to my bubbles. That's getting pretty fancy. I can delete my bubble and get rid of it. Okay, but let's get going. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put here in my Start Here box my thesis. And for the sake of this example, I am going to be writing an essay that says jelly beans are a superfood. Okay? All right. Voila. So I've got my thesis. I'm ready to go. Now what's going to come out of my thesis is going to be a child bubble, right? Over here it says a new sister bubble. It's going to be sort of on the same level, organizational level, but since our thesis stands alone, we're not going to have any of those. We're going to have child bubbles. Child bubbles, I need 1, and then I need 2, and then I need 3. And you might need more actually, right? But you need at least 3 reasons why your thesis is true. And that's what's going to go inside these bubbles, is if your thesis is jelly beans are a superfood, you need to ask yourself, why are jelly beans a superfood? Well, here's one reason why, here's another reason why, here's a third reason why. If your thesis is hunting should be illegal, then you're going to ask yourself, why should hunting be illegal? And you're going to present one reason why, a second reason why, and a third reason why. So let me go ahead and give you my reasons why jelly beans are a superfood. I'm going to say, first off, they make people happy. And a second reason is because they are good for the economy. And a third reason is because they're beneficial for your teeth. Now, obviously that's not really true, but you're going to play along with me for the sake of this example, okay? So I've got my 3 reasons. Now, if I don't like them laid out in this way, I can just, remember, move my bubble. I can drag it up here. I can move, oops, come here, little, there it is. I can move this one over here, right? I could spread them out however I want to. From here, underneath my 3 reasons why, and each of these are going to become topic sentences in my body paragraphs, I'm going to need some child bubbles coming out of each one of these. I want a child bubble coming out of here. I want at least 2 coming out of each one, okay? What's going to go in these child bubbles? Well, in these ones, this is where my scuba details are going to go. In other words, my research that says, well, how do I know jelly beans make people happy? What exact details do I have that prove that? How do I know jelly beans are beneficial for your teeth? And so on. So, for instance, under good for the economy, I might say many jelly beans are made in the USA, and so it's good for our economy here in our country. Now, that's a snorkel detail, I do have to tell you, because it says many jelly beans. If I could say, 83% of the jelly beans eaten in the world are made in the USA, that's much more of a scuba detail. It's much more specific. And if I have some good research, I'm going to probably put in parentheses what source I got that from. So later when I'm using my web to write my paper and I need to write citations to cite my sources, I know where to go with this, right? So I'm going to have a scuba detail number 2 here and so on. Let me show you another example, right? Under beneficial for your teeth. And by the way, I know you're probably saying, but they're not beneficial for your teeth. You know how you're arguing against that? That's called the opposition. The opposition. And what I'm going to do here is I want to make a new bubble, for that opposition. And I'm going to actually say, well, you say jelly beans are bad for your teeth, right? You're arguing against me. I'm going to turn this bubble red, kind of like a stop sign to show me, oh, this is people against me, right? And I'm going to, oops, I moved the wrong bubble red. Hang on. Let me make that one back to green. And let me make my bad for your teeth one red. There we go. And then this is the one I want to move, and I'm going to move it up here. So it's kind of floating in between my reason, right, like this. What you can see here is that this is the argument against my thesis. And when I'm writing my essay, you're going to learn more about this when you get to task 11, your opposition or your straw man. But when I'm writing my essay, I'm going to say, now I know some people think jelly beans are bad for your teeth, but actually they're quite good for your teeth, right? I'm going to say they're quite beneficial. And I'm going to go on to give my scuba details. For instance, perhaps I know that they strengthen tooth enamel by 4.7%, and that's from one of my second sources, okay? That would be a good scuba detail that I could use, right? Or if I don't have numbers, right, you might have other kinds of scuba details. Perhaps I have this quote from Joe Dentis, who would be an expert about teeth, and he says, I suggest my patients eat 10 jelly beans, not JVs, jelly beans per day. And that's from another source that I have, okay? That's another kind of scuba detail that I could have, would be a quote from somebody considered an expert in a field, okay? So you're starting to see my organization here, right? You're starting to see the layout of my essay. And personally, I actually like to keep these all different colors. I like each paragraph to be a different color, so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to make these bubbles purple. And so I've got, my thesis here, jelly beans are a superfood. I've got my opposition right here, which is my argument against it. I've got a paragraph I'm going to write about how it's good for the economy, and that paragraph is going to, here, let me click on fit and try and make this fit in here better. A paragraph about it being good for the economy. I've got a paragraph about how they make people happy, and then I've got a paragraph about how they're good for your teeth. In my conclusion, I'm going to come back and restate my thesis. My whole essay is kind of planned out right here on the screen. When I've got my map ready and I'm working in bubbles, it should be automatically saving. You can see my new mind map has been saving over here. But if it's not, you would go ahead and you would click save. You want to make sure you click save at the very end anyway. And then you can even come over here and rename this if you'd like to, so you don't forget what your essay is about or which mind map's which if you eventually create more than one. Then you could share this to Mrs. Grant, or you could print it, or you can export it. If you click on export, it'll ask you, how do you want to export it? And I would go for exporting it as an image, a JPEG, and you can go ahead and click image, and this will give you something you can save right there on your computer. All right, just about done here. Let me pop back into my Keynote. So you've made your web, or you've got a sense of how to make a web, right? So the thing that's left is for you to practice this. You've got 2 tasks to do. Task 8 on your workflow asks you to work backwards. You're going to start from an essay that's already written. It's about Walmart. It's in your packet. And you're going to identify the thesis and the reasons why and the scuba details, and you're going to work those things, turn those things into a web. And then there's an answer key for you to check that against and see if you're doing it right. Once you know you are, then you're going to work forward. You're going to use your thesis that you've written for your essay. You're going to use the research, and you're going to create a graphic organizer showing me how your essay will be organized, and you're going to get it checked in with me. After that, you will be ready to write your essay, to write your first draft.